Okay, the mic is open. There's a microphone that the guy is using on the table for picking up the audio and stream. Yeah, yeah. No, no, he won't. I told you he won't allow. He won't allow any. He won't allow anything to. But okay, I've got my laptop next to the Ian. Can you just want to pick up. I'm going to try and pick up audio. Okay, 1 second.
Wise, thankful to the wise who are come today. And we've got the Home Office community engagements in here.
Yeah, my laptop is open to pick up whatever. Yeah.
And we've got Garrett.
Yes, yes, yes. It's close here. Yeah. All right.
So welcome for you. If you've got issues regarding we've got actually exciting for fire safety, but please so that we can contact you after. If you want to call after, we can do that.
Okay.
There's something here. And we can write what nothing more than we can do up. And we're going to do again. If you have to call. But also
the audio will pick when you start speaking.
So we give 3 or 4 minutes to start, because it's now after 4 o'clock. Yeah. And we're really well. No, that's not me.
Yeah, and
Are you putting anything on the screen then, Eric?
No, no, I'm just audio only. Audio. Yeah. Audio only for laptop. So let me see how I can assist you guys now. So we've got the Zoom open now.
Yeah.
There's nothing plugged into anything else. It's just through the internet with the Zoom.
Okay. Have on Zoom, can you get a live feed into here? So if I give you the link, can you have what we're transmitting?
I don't know all this technical.
You don't know. Okay. Roland is coming. He's the guy. Okay. Okay.
On the Zoom, can you get the live feed open? I think he was going to try and link that.
Yeah. So you've got here host tools, participate in chat. So in the chat, right? Let's do something like this. Oh, this is Ouch. Right, let's go. Let's go, YouTube. Oh.
Yeah, if you can't make a connection, you just have to go with the laptop only.
Keep your passwords safe.
Oh.
Yeah,
What was that?
got 4 people there, so it can't be the wrong one. Okay, so somebody's signed in.
Right. So now participate.
I'll just put the sound off. Otherwise it'll be.
Here. It's, wait. Yeah. What I've done is, this person is controlling your Zoom, yeah? So what I've done, I've put the link in here and I said, here is the live streaming link. So people, if they want to click on that, they were able to see
So
it.
it's in the chat, yeah.
It's in the chat, so then they can then minimize their screen. Yeah, so let's say argument's sake. Hello. So
Zoom's on there, because you're chairing. Do you want me to do the Zoom from here then?
I think someone is doing it. Is you know Margaret McLean?
I don't know who Margaret is.
She might be a visitor.
Yeah.
No, but somebody here needs to keep an.
Right here.
How are we going to hear the speakers when they're speaking on Zoom?
Hello,
No.
hello there. Thank you. I'm just calling from. I wanted to join in, but
Have
thank
you
you
got
for
headphones?
the live screen.
Everybody here needs to hear Roland and.
Thank you.
Glenda when they speak, because they're not here.
So is this not connected to there?
Is it going to come through there?
No, I'm asking you, I don't know.
No, we haven't connected it. That's
Oh.
the only one that's connected.
Yeah, this one is connected.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's
This
the
one.
presentation.
It will be on here,
Yeah, the
so it
presentation.
gets streamed into here.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
right.
will be looking at this if you wish to communicate with people.
Okay, yeah.
It's like
okay.
So
monitoring.
that's separate, that's separate.
Mark, take that seat there then.
Yeah. What I suggest, you do this here.
It's yours then.
No, it's two seats. So if you sit here, then
So what I'm gonna do. It's okay. And then when you finish.
Oh, you're sitting here.
no, you're gonna sit there.
Okay.
You're happy to sit there.
Okay.
That'd be great, yes.
Yeah, but you should be on the top table, yeah?
I'm presenting. from
Oh,
there.
you're presenting
Yeah,
from there. Okay.
And it would go on the screen, yeah.
And have you got microphones? Because everybody's at the back. Yeah. Can you move forward, everybody? Okay. You tried. You tried. You're very trying. So how do you make this bigger then?
People like to face the front seat first. The later comers will come at the back. If we come forward and
Can you
fill
not make
the
this bigger?
front row, people arrive and they can go seat at the back.
Okay. Just that. Let's do that. No, okay, let's not fiddle around. Content of this meeting. It's been sent to the.
Right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WISE. Welcome to the Brent Windrush compensation scheme organized with WISE and Amy Garvis. It's an honor to welcome you all today, particularly our visitors from the Home Office, who will be introduced by the chair. So just some housekeeping. We don't expect to have an alarm. If we do have an emergency, ask you to go through the double door stair and assemble on the other side of the fence. The toilets are through here on my left, the ladies on the first on the left, and the gentleman around the corner. So let me just give you a brief introduction to WISE. We're a WISE social care and education project. We're an elderly daycare center It caters primarily for Caribbean people, but we actually open to the whole community in Brent. So it's a daycare center for the elderly. We're volunteer-based. My manager, Sam Lanson, is at the back here. And one of our volunteers, Beryl, is at the back as well. But we opened Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The elderly are here to spend some quality time with friends, whilst the kid has some me time. It's very important for the community. So many of our elderly are isolated, and it's very important to have somewhere that they can congregate and have some me time, have some social gathering, have chair-based exercises. We have a lot of artwork for them. We have excursions, whatever we can do to keep them active. That's what we're here for. So, welcome to WISE. Welcome to this very special event, and I will hand over to Oshie.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a quick question? Can the people in Zoom see us? Is it feeding into the people in Zoom?
I don't know.
Sam? Where's he gone?
Ask somebody in the Zoom, it can roll
Can
the
you,
screen.
Sam, can the people on Zoom see us? Is there a camera into the,
Yes, you can go to the link.
what, look, is there a link in Zoom? Oh, right. Okay. Right. Go to the link in your chat and then you can see what's going on in the room. Well, there's an advert.
Plants are making progress. You can really notice at the very start, especially a little bit more of a bit more light in the arms. As a counsellor, what I want to help my clients is to accept themselves so they can
Go back to that and then take out the
what makes it so easy to make the first step into the
Where is it?
So you roll it.
Is this it?
Yeah, skip, yeah. All right. Oh, lovely. Okay. But it's not live.
It's not live. Why are you watching yourself here?
No, it's not live.
If it's not live, why am I in the picture?
You're not in the picture.
Who's this?
This is recording. You're standing here.
It's live.
It's not live. Everybody's in different places. That's not live. It's out of time.
Okay, shall we make a start
I guess
with our programs?
Oh, Zoom. I'm looking for the Zoom show.
So we've been welcomed by the Wine Centre. Just to tell you a little bit about this event. So this event is sponsored by Justice for Windrush Generation. And it's about...
Okay, so we make a start to our program.
I have to silence this. Sorry.
So we've been welcomed by the WISE Centre.
How do I turn off this?
Just to tell you a little bit about this event.
How can I turn
So
off?
this event is sponsored by Justice for Windrush Generation,
Let's try.
and it's about getting
Bear with me.
I don't know, how do I get back to it?
Is that good?
I've silenced that.
But where do I get back to it?
Okay. So, just to re-emphasize,
Sorry,
the
everyone.
purpose of this event is really to help individuals to understand the Windrush compensation scheme and also to check who's eligible to apply to the scheme. We have members from the Home Office team here who will give us a presentation, and then there will be opportunity after that presentation to ask questions relating to what's being presented. And also, after the presentation, you'll be able to talk to any member of the team. We're focusing specifically on the current compensation scheme that was launched in 2019. We're not discussing fault or issue with the scheme. We just want to focus on what the scheme is, who's eligible, and how you can apply to the scheme. And it's really important to get this information correct, because out there's misinformation about Windrush. and I can tell you some of the misinformation about Windrush. Windrush affect people from 65 countries. So it's not a Caribbean issue. So let's put that to bed. Windrush will affect people from Africa and from Asia. There are more people affected from Africa in terms of countries than the Caribbean. So when we talk about Windrush, let's give it a global issue affecting 55 countries. Many Africans and many Asians still don't understand that they're part of Windrush. And you can understand the reason why. Because they see the narrative by the BBC of the Windrush ship and people coming off the ship. And we didn't see any white people coming off the ship. We didn't see any Indian people coming off the ship. And we didn't see African being interviewed coming off the ship. We saw Caribbean people being interviewed. 1,027 passengers, including 60-odd Polish people that nobody saw, but they were on the ship. So we need to understand Windrush in the global context. And when we talk about Windrush, just remind people it is global, affecting people from 65 countries. And we want to focus this afternoon very specific. And we say this because the purpose of this event in this center is really to reach out to our seniors, our elders. I am second generation Windrush. My mother was first generation. We're now in fifth generation. And so people need to understand Windrush in this wider context. And during the presentation from the Home Office, you will get the historic context and also understand how it came about, how this Home Office scandal came about, and what the government have done to address those issues relating to people's immigration status. We're talking about immigration law. So we have 4 members of the Home Office team present, and they will be presenting to us for about 4 to 5 minutes or so. Then you have opportunity to ask questions. And we also are streaming, so there will be people on Zoom from outside the UK as well as inside the UK. So they'll be getting information as well. And because we're streaming, you'll be able to revisit this at a later time, tomorrow, etc., and share the information with those not able to be present today. So, can I invite our presenter, who is going to talk to us about Windrush, and going to give us the context of Windrush, and she will present to us. You'll be able to see the presentation from the big screen. So we'll come directly to you. So just keep your eye up here. And let's just emphasize 2 things. The Windrush compensation scheme is in 2 parts: status rectification and compensation if you've been impacted or you suffer loss. And those 2 important points will be bear out in the presentation this afternoon. We always make the point. The first thing you do is to check your status. So compensation is not the first thing, it's to check your status. have you been impacted? Were you affected because you could not prove your status to be in the UK and the right to services, employment, public service, etc.? So without further ado, can I invite our speaker, please?
Hi everybody, my name is Lorraine and I'm one of the engagement team here today to talk to you about the Windrush compensation scheme. So as explained by Garrick, it is a global scheme. So we are trying to speak to people in the other communities besides the Caribbean community. We are trying to speak to people in the African community. We are trying to speak to people in the Asian community. Okay, so our agenda for today is a little bit of history and context. Next bit will be the Windrush status scheme. So that's a discussion and an explanation of what it means by your status and the importance of it. And then the next bit is about the compensation scheme. You'll find out whether are you eligible to apply for the compensation scheme. And at the end, we can take a few questions from you. Okay, so to begin with a little bit of history. So how did we get here? So, following World War II, the invitation was sent out to all the Commonwealth and invited them over to come and help rebuild the United Kingdom after the war. So people came over, and one of the most famous was the Windrush Empire ship. And that came in on the 21st of June 1948 at Tilbury Docks. For the context of it, everybody on that ship was either a British citizen or a British subject. But they were British. There was no disagreement about it. They were British. So, like all governments, they're constantly changing the rules, they're constantly updating information, and they're trying to make sure that the right people come into the country and getting what they're entitled to. But we have to make sure that we're looking at illegal immigration as well. So, Commonwealth citizens that settled in the UK before the 1st of January 1973 were given automatic residency via the Immigration Act of 1971. That date is key for a lot of people that came into the country. However, you were not required to have any documentation to prove you're a British citizen or that you were entitled to a lot of the services that were on offer. But we now know that these group of people became known as the Windrush generation because you got caught up in something that wasn't aimed at you. So, what happened? So what happened was, like I said before, successive governments were introducing measures to combat illegal immigration. So it wasn't for anybody coming who had been invited in to help rebuild the country. It wasn't for those, it was for all the other people that didn't come in a legal way into the country. So we introduced a system that could prove your legal right to be here. That meant that you were entitled to the NHS, that meant you were entitled to get a job, that meant you were entitled to benefits if you weren't able to get a job. But due to lack of documentation for the Windrush generation, we got caught up in measures that simply did not apply to you. And because you did not have the documentation to prove this, you didn't have the evidence and you got caught up in things. So some people lost their jobs, some people lost their houses, some people couldn't access any benefits, you couldn't access the health care because you would have got charged for it. Some people were detained and some people were deported. And we all know that because it was across the news that things were happening. So the Home Office at the time apologised to victims and their families. And what we decided to do was, as quickly as possible, put into place 2 schemes that could help people. The first scheme would be about the status and ensuring that you had your documents to prove you were legally here. And the second scheme was to help you make a compensation claim against the government. So one of the very first things we did, we set up a free phone helpline so that we could, as soon as you called in, you could speak to a member of staff and they would direct you to where you needed to be, whether it was information, the website, or did you need to speak to another party. We set up a vulnerable persons team. So this was aimed at people who were struggling to sort things out, whether it affected you mentally or you were affected because you had a physical issue. We had set up mobile biometrics. So this was a team of people who visited you in your home to help you set up a BRP card at that time. That's changed now, it's now an e-visa, but we can explain a bit more about that. So before the compensation scheme got put into place, we would use urgent and exceptional payments first. So that was the first place of you getting any kind of money to help you pay for things, whether it was to pay for rent, pay for overdue bills, to pay for any furnishings. In 2019, the compensation scheme came into being, and that's when we changed everything. We have a team that goes out into communities to speak to people in a more personal service, because we need your views and your reactions to what we're doing to constantly improve the service that we provide. We go to any community, our services are free, and we hold things like this, or we'll speak to you on a one-to-one basis if there's something in particular you want to speak to the team about. Right. Tom. I'm going to introduce you. This is Tom, another member of the team, and he's going to take it.
Sorry, we're fiddling around because the people outside the room can't see the screen at the moment. So we're trying to just make sure that we can get that visual, because they're using my phone at the moment to see the screen. But there's something just amiss there. Very welcome everyone who's just come in, mate. Thank you.
That's probably easier. Right. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit firstly about the Windrush data scheme. So this is a free service that was set up to help people gain proof that they have the right to work and live in the UK. So the people that would be eligible for this would be Commonwealth citizens who settled in the UK on the 1st of January 1973, and their children who were born here or who came to live here before the age of 18 and who continue to live here. And also any other person who arrived to the UK before the 1st of January 1989 and is now settled here. So Commonwealth citizens settled in the UK by 1973, but who were no longer settled in the UK, they can also make a free application to return to live in the UK if they have close and continuing ties to the United Kingdom. So this scheme, the Windrush Data Scheme, has helped claimants from all over the world secure their lawful status within the UK. So like I said previously, it's not just sort of a scheme for the Caribbean countries, it's a scheme for sort of any nationality. So type of status documents. So depending on when a claimant entered the UK and where they arrived from, these are sort of the different types of documents that we can supply. So firstly, we have the nationality status letter. So this is a letter confirming that you are already a British citizen. We also have British citizenship. So this is naturalisation or a registration certificate. We also have right of abode. So this is a certificate of entitlement. And then also e-visas, which are sort of a new thing, which is just confirming that you have the right to live permanently within the UK. Right, so moving on. We have the Windrush compensation scheme. Like mentioned previously, this was launched in April 2019, and the scheme was set up to compensate people who'd suffered losses or had impacts because they were unable to demonstrate that they had the lawful status to be in the UK. So they were unable to prove that they had the right to be in the UK. So this is available to any nationality. So like before, it's not just Caribbean countries, it's any nationality, as long as they arrived and were lawfully settled before 1989. And it's important to know, like mentioned, to be able to apply to the compensation scheme, you need to have your status sorted first. So, the three different types of claims. You have a primary claimant. So this is for if you have directly suffered losses because you couldn't prove your lawful status to be in the UK. You have close family member. So this is because if you suffered losses because of close family members such as a partner, a child, brother, sister or parent couldn't prove that they had the lawful right to stay in the UK. So this is about how that close family members' losses affected you. And then the last one is deceased estate. So this is basically similar to a primary claimant. However, this is representing someone who has passed away. So this is representing their estate. Is that all okay? Moving on, I'm going to pass over to Tina now. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Tina, like Thomas was said. So I'm just going to talk about the separate claims that we can do. So it's important to know that when we apply for these claims, that we need to make sure that we fill out the top part first. So the simple stuff, your name, your address, things like that need to be filled out before you can actually put a claim in and for it to be registered. So for it to be registered, so for a primary claim, again, to be eligible, like Hans just said, you have to be a Commonwealth citizen who came to the UK before the 1st of January 1973. Or, again, from any country before the 1st of January 1989. Those dates are very, very important. Okay? Also, this is Commonwealth parents or grandparents who came to the UK before the 1st of January 1973. Okay, and this is to demonstrate any losses that you had that's been impacted because you couldn't demonstrate your local status. Okay, so the next one is a close family member. So close family members, so again, in all these claims, you do have to make sure that you fill out everything about yourself first for it to be registered. So that's the first thing and very important to note. So when we look at the close family member, so this is where you've suffered losses because of a primary claimant, okay, and prove that they've got a right to live in the UK, okay, and would they be eligible for the scheme? So the primary claimant's got to be eligible for the scheme first. However, they don't need to put in a claim to make the close family member claim at all. So first of all, again, they have to be in the UK, came into the UK before 1973, the 1st of January 1973. Their parents or grandparents came into the UK from a Commonwealth country before 1973, or they came to the UK from any country before the 1st of January 1989, and they are settled here. Okay. We've also got the deceased claim. Okay, so this again is very much very similar to a primary claim. So the primary claim and deceased claim is the same thing in a sense, apart from somebody else is going to be claiming for the deceased person. So this is where a person has died, but they suffered losses because they were unable to prove their local status. But again, they must be eligible for the scheme. All right, again, the same dates, again, you can see that we go through the same dates. So it's very important, the dates. The 1st of January 1973. Okay, and that's for any Commonwealth citizens, or your parents or grandparents came to the UK from a Commonwealth country, or they came to the UK from any country before the 1st of January 1989. Okay? Does everybody understand? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, okay. So what can you claim for? So we have 13 related categories, okay? So and these are things what we've looked into and listened to what people have told us from the Windrush generation. And this is where they've had issues trying to prove their local status. Okay, so I'm not going to go through them all. As you can see, they're up there. But one of the most important ones is the employment one. We seem to get there's a lot of people who had problems, like Gareth said, where they've lost their jobs because they've been unable to provide evidence to show that they had local status in the UK. And then it could be that it's a snowball effect where if you lost your job, you haven't got any money, you might not be able to pay your rent, you could lose your house, you could end up wearing homeless. There's lots of things that can, from one incident that's happened, it could snowball into other categories as well, where it just makes things difficult for you to be in the UK at that time. So you might not be able to get benefits, you might become ill. And again, you can see we've got homelessness there. One of the big ones here is the impact of life. So this is to do with the emotional impact. So the impact of life is something where you would be, how it affected you and what happened. So it's important, if you are making one of these claims, that you make sure that you put down everything that's happened. And I know it can be stressful. I know there's a lot of things that's happened to people that we've all heard incidents where people have had horrendous situations where, again, they've been deported, or they've lost a job, then they've lost a house. And again, it's like a snowball effect where it's not just one thing that's impacted. From one situation of losing your job, it's turned into something where there's multiple categories that we can play as well. Again, if you go, when you make a claim, you've got your caseworker that will be there, and literally they would make sure, if you just claim for one, they would look into everything. It wouldn't just be one thing that they would look at because you've made that claim, you tick that box. They would look into it, they would talk to you, they would work with you, they would make sure that they get as much as they possibly can, because we're there to get you the most award that they can possibly do. You can see we've got close family member. Now there's only 4 categories associated with a close family member, and the reason for this is because the close family member is actually claiming against a crime, claim, or a disease. So basically, it's the impacts that the close family member has had because of a crime claim or a deceased person. So basically, we're looking at the immigration and legal fees. So if they had to pay for those because the primary person or the deceased person lost the job, they hadn't got any money, they became homeless. It might be that obviously they have to pay for those fees. Living costs again is there. So this is a relatively new one that's been added. You know, after the first initial ones that we did. Living costs is it again, lost your job, you couldn't pay your rent, you couldn't pay your gas and electric. So the close family member possibly could have stepped in and paid for all these things as well, because you know, close family member could be living with you, it could be your family member that's there. Again, we've got the impact of life. That's important again, because obviously it could have impacted you. If you're a close family member, and you make a claim, impact of life is where again it is impacted because of you personally. All right, so it's a personal thing that's happened. So it could be that your dad lost his job, and then again you won't be able to do all the things that you normally would have done. You might have gone on holiday every year, but if your dad's lost his job, then possibly that could be affecting you as well, where the things that were normal in your life were affected because of this. Okay, discretionary again. Discretionary is very important. It's something that's very misunderstood. So discretionary is a monetary category, but it's where it doesn't affect anything else. So it can't be any of the other ones. So basically, it's the one where it's not immigration fees, detention, employment, any of the other 13. Okay, discretionary is something like, for example, if somebody was deported or they couldn't get back to the UK, they'd gone out of the UK, tried to come back in, and they couldn't get back in, and they'd had to cancel the flight, but they had a return flight, and then later down the line they were able to come back in, but they had to buy another flight. It'd be something like that. All right, so it's something that's not.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah. Is there any questions at the end, or do you?
We're going to take Q&A after the presentation.
Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on to
fine.
your point.
Yeah, okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pass you to Ian. There you go, Ian. Thank you very much.
This is my last presentation I'm going to make. I'm retiring on the 21st of March. To wrap up this presentation, you've heard a great deal of information from our team. You've heard a wonderful opening from Gary, who talked about what the scheme is and the fact that it's not just the Caribbean community. But 2 words always appear to come up that confuse people along the journey: eligibility or entitlement. Do you know the difference as to what they mean? I wouldn't until I looked them up in the dictionary. So these terms are sometimes they cause confusion along the claim journey when they submit the claim or think about submitting a claim. So understanding what each means will help manage a customer's expectations as they progress through the claim journey. So when a claim has been determined as eligible, this means that the claimant has met the scheme criteria or the scheme rules so that they can then be considered compensation. But it doesn't mean that they are therefore entitled compensation. So you have to conform or be within the scheme rules to become eligible to submit your claim. But it doesn't mean you're automatically going to get an entitlement or a benefit. So an individual is entitled to compensation if they have suffered losses as a direct result of their inability to demonstrate their lawful status. I wanted to pause on that particular slide because in the presentations that we've made since this team has been formed and we've done out into the community, it's something that they've often asked us along the way. You will get a letter, if you do submit a claim, you will get a letter from us saying that you are eligible or that you're not eligible. It's fair to say the greater majority of claims that we receive, they are eligible to move on to the case working process. So let's have the next slide. What have we done since the schemes have been introduced? We've tried to simplify the forms. Have you seen the forms? Yeah.
It's one there.
It's like that, isn't it? We've got examples of them here today. You're welcome to come and talk to us if you want on a one-to-one basis. Or if you're not comfortable talking to us on a one-to-one basis, the team can take the details and we can make a private conversation with you on the phone. If that helps. So we have made the forms easier, would you believe? Perhaps there's 2 less pages than we were written. We've tried to improve the way in which it's written to make it easier. I'm not good with forms, I'll be honest with you. So they are simpler to navigate or work your way through. And it was Pretty Patel when she was the Home Secretary. One of the first things she did was, because she was getting feedback to say, guys, you're being pretty slow at taking in these claims and processing them. And she said to us, and said to me, because I'm this slow in the Home Office, she said, guys, you have to make a preliminary consideration of all claims within the first 6 weeks. And if there is an award, under the impact of the life section, you must award £10,000. Did you know that? So that's one important change. And it's also fair to say, we have more caseworkers working on the team than ever before. Yes, the scheme rules do change and have changed along the way, but we're now moving through claims a whole lot quicker than what we did. And I'm sorry that we were so slow at the start to get things moving in terms of processing them. You heard Tina talk about the deceased estate and the person who can make an application relating to a deceased estate. It's the person who has been granted probate. You know what probate is? Yeah, it's quite a journey in itself to be granted probate. But we do have a dedicated team who can talk you through how to get probate if you're the right person to apply for probate. And we can provide financial assistance up to £1,500 to help with the associated legal costs. So again, another team working within our team, inside our team, they're there to help you be thinking about the deceased estate. That person may have passed away overseas. It's quite a journey to get all the various bits of paper and letters of the week. But I think we've been able to try and help people get those papers from those countries a wee bit quicker. And the other important thing that we've done, people were telling us, you've got too many caseworkers dealing with my case. Last month, I spoke to Ian. The second month, Tina's dealing with it. That's one out. One caseworker stays with you, stays with you through the claim journey. They're also told to pick up the phone and give you regular updates and progress. I hope that they will be ringing them, or they'll be emailing you or sending you a letter to advise you on the progress of your plan. Next slide, young man. Yesterday, and every month, we always update the data relating to the claims. You can find it on your iPad by going to Windrush Compensation Scheme data. It's on the government website. A lot of people don't think we've paid any money out. They don't know how many people have made claims. So this is the latest information. Over 9,700, well, it's actually 9,715 people have made application for compensation. We have paid out or offered in compensation £113 million. During the month of January alone, we paid out over 2.7 million in compensation. It's there on the government website. It's buried under Windrush Compensation Scheme data. It's not easy to navigate, but there are some headline news there if you're interested in knowing the progress. And that is always updated every month, towards the end of the month. So, how do you get in touch with us? That's the magic number. 0800 678 1925. Worth noting, if you're thinking about status, or you're thinking about compensation, or you're thinking about helping someone, call us on 0800 678 1925. Those lines are Monday to Friday, between 9 and 5. Before I move into this role, and how to meet young people like you yourself, I spent 3 years on that line. I've spoken with some wonderful people on the phone. Not all of them, well, how can I put it? Some of them are quite nervous about ringing us, because they're ringing the home office. No one really wants to ring the home office. No one trusts the home office. They don't exist. They're not people. They're just robots. I'm pleased to say I work at the home office. I'm even more pleased to say that I work on the Windrush Compensation Scheme. I joined the scheme. I wanted to try and help you. We also have retained a company called We Are Group. There's their number, 0808 196 8496. They're a company retained who've got advisors around the UK. By ringing that number saying, I'm interested in making an application for compensation. I don't want to fill the forms in. I really aren't good with forms. Is there someone who can help me fill the forms? There is no cost. The advisor will make contact with you and arrange to meet up with you in your locality at a library or somewhere private. The appointment can last up to 3 hours. fill the forms in fully. The only advice I'd offer anybody is, before you go to such a meeting, try and plot down on an A4 sheet of paper those things that you think are pertinent. Yeah? We're now going to ask if you've got any questions. If you don't want to ask a question in public, you're happy to talk to us at the end. We're going to be here. Sam is here. But we're happy to answer any questions you may have. If we can't answer a specific question today, we will take your phone number. And one of these fine people will bring you back. Oh my God, call you back. Really nice. And we were 3 days ago. And as you know, I'm leaving on the 21st. Here we go.
I think you should clap for Ian. For Ian, Lorraine, Tom and Tina. They've come out this morning from Sheffield, leaving at 5 AM this morning, including Gareth, who's from up north as well. They'll call it up north. But anyway, I just want to do a special quick thank you to the team for coming and joining us today. Especially Ian, who's my brother from another mother. Because as you can tell, I was born in Wales. My mother at the back there delivered me in the same hospital as young Ian here. Ian's going to retire this month, and as he said, he was really delighted to be able to be invited to come to Brent to represent the community engagement team to us here at Wise. Carol, I haven't introduced Carol yet. This is Carol Roden. She's my sister from another minister. And Carol and I are setting up a Windrush Advice Centre that will be based at Wise, with the thanks to Ben and Samantha, who are representing Wise here. So when you phone that number, that we are group, perhaps in the near future, then Carol and myself might be the people, if you're in this neighbourhood, that you can come and see. But as Ian, Tom and Lorraine and Tina have said, sometimes it might be difficult to just pick up the phone to the Home Office, but Carol and I will be holding your hands and trying to give you a loving, kind and supportive route down that road. It's very important. Garrett and Roland, who's signing in, they have found that very few people are willing to go through the process. It's not that we aren't entitled or we're not eligible, but the process is very difficult. That's why Garrett and Roland hold these engagement meetings, and they've been supported throughout by people from the Home Office, like our team here. But when Carol and I met them, we realised we've also ourselves got issues that we need to deal with, but we're doing it to support each other. We want to support the community as well.
I just want to say thank you all for coming. Literally, no, I'm just saying thank you to this team. I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just saying thank you all for coming, literally, and just wanted to specifically say that this, I'm very passionate about the whole thing, because it is an extremely difficult issue to deal with. And in our community, we tend to just do things, soldier on. Our parents didn't talk about problems or issues, they just made things right. And that Windrush generation, I take my hat off to them every time, because they came with nothing and did wonderful things. So what, and created this space so that this could happen today. So what I would like to just say to each and every one of you, because we have stories that have never been told, I just wanted to say this is the reason why I'm here, to support Liz and Roland and the government to just get some balance and the correct order of things. So everything that you have to say is important. And I think that as a community, because you've actually come out, you're making a difference. Everything that you've got to say makes a difference. So I'm here to deal with the trauma and people that are distressed. Once you start talking about all those issues, it is difficult. So that's the reason why I'm here to help heal, develop, and empower. So our group is called Amy Garvey and Wise. Together we can do it. The West Indian Social Education Group is here to not just support, but it educated. And that is, we need your stories to actually bring the future and make it what it should be. So thank you very much.
I'm back to the chair, and I really encourage you to ask questions.
So a big thank you for the engagement team for the presentation, the slides. And also what's important, and there's a lot of information. We're not expecting you to retain all this information. But there are places you can go, we call it a one-stop shop to get the information. In addition to the Home Office, .gov.uk/Windrush compensation scheme, Justice for Windrush Generation have our own dedicated website. As it says, Justice for Windrush Generation.co.uk. Everything is there in one place. Who's eligible, and the history, breaking down the claim, it's all in one place. Now, you've heard the presentation, and I'm sure there's some questions. So we have about 10 minutes to deal with some questions from the audience and any question on the Zoom before we then go into our lived experience person who will be presenting to us on Zoom. So Carol, well, while someone was speaking, you wanted to raise a question, let's save that question later. So can you ask your question now, please?
Okay, all right. Well, it was about the disease. I was just wondering, what criteria does that person have to die under to actually be able to be successfully eligible to claim? Because I'm not quite sure if that person, you know, died of traumatized situation, or, you know, would they be eligible if they suffered from depression and was on medication? You know what I mean? This is what I want to know.
The disease claim is. Okay, so the disease claim, the criteria, what you're asking for the criteria is not something that we would look at why he died. So that's what you're asking. We wouldn't be able to tell you why or how to die. It would basically be, we need to be reach the criteria that we've already spoke about. So from a Commonwealth country, paid before the 1st of January 1973, or from any other country here in the UK and resident in the UK before the 1st of January 1989. That is the criteria. So that's what we talk about, the criteria. How they pass away, or, you know, if it was, like you said, the depression isn't anything that we would look for. It would be the criteria, specifically what I've just said. So it doesn't matter how they died as such, per se. It would just be the criteria for Windrush, be part of another generation. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's made it clearer.
Yes, I can pick up for it. I wanted to take any questions from the audience here, please.
Don't be shy.
It doesn't matter which team, it just a question from the team.
Yeah, but
So we've got someone.
You mentioned
Microphone.
applications, 715. Of that number, how many do you think were successful? But you did put figure in terms of money. How many of that 9,000 are actually successful? Do you have a figure for that?
I don't have that information with me here and now, but then I'd encourage you to go on to the government website. It's broken down in a great deal of detail. That's all we've tried to do here is put the headline news, or the headline statistics or data. But those sort of questions are there in full public view. Someone to drill into them, try and get a handle on answering your question.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. There's a question just here. It's lady at the front, please. One moment, wait a minute.
I was interested in asking if we would have insight as to what to enter into these questionnaires, the form that we're actually filling out. Do we get insight into as to what to put down? Because I'm
Okay.
dyslexic.
Very good question. Very good question. And let me address this for the entire audience and also those on Zoom. There is guidance for each of the claims. So guidance for primary claimant, guidance for close family claim, and guidance for deceased estate. And we always recommend people consult the casework guidance, which is a big document, 105 pages. But in that document, it actually explains for each section what the caseworkers is expecting their answers to be on paper, because they can't read your mind, so you've got to put things down. Yeah. And what we're now talking about is advocacy help, because we can't do this on our own. People need help with the application process, and we offer advocacy. So advocacies around the country. We've got Windrush Justice Clinic. We've got advocacy in different cities, but also we have advocacy in the northwest of England. So if you need help with your application, you need to find an advocate who will sit down with you and help you with that application. It is difficult for many people just to read the guidance and fill in the application. And there are many people with many challenges, dyslexia, learning disabilities, autism, many issues that will impact on individual reading and writing. They need help. That is what the advocacy will do, the advocate. But also, other family members can help you as well, because they may have a better knowledge of the form. They may have submitted their own claim. So there's help. What we don't want you to do is to give up and say, oh, it's too complicated. I don't want to bother with it. That's what we don't want, because that's what's been happening while we're not getting enough claims coming forward. People think, oh, it's too much. Okay? So reach out for some help, right? I need some help with this application. It's not just enough to get the form, read it, and fill it in. It's a lot more involved. And what Carol spoke about, trauma, when people start to go back in their history, what's happened to them, they're reliving the trauma. And that's not easy to do, to fill a form in and going back in those stuff. That is why you need some help. So in law, we have an organization in Liverpool called Law, Liverpool Advocates for Windrush. We also have trauma counselors that will help individuals similar to what you do. We were the first to do that in the country, because we recognize that people were traumatized by all of this. And we also know that there are people in mental institutions, as I speak today, as a result of their experience in Windrush. We know not just one member, 2-member family, and has been in a mental hospital for many years. So please do not forget there is help available. Reach out to someone to help you. Ian?
Could I just add, thank you, Gareth. Once you're playing for two, you've reached out and had support, fill in the playing for. It's not finished there. The caseworker will make contact with you. The caseworker, we want to talk about a sentence that you may have written that needs to be expanded, that it may have been spin-off from that one statement. So the journey doesn't come to an end once that paper will close it. Somebody will reach out, keep you updated. We'll also try to create the picture, the understanding of all those other things that may have happened. Yeah.
Good, thank you for that.
There's another question at the front here. Any other questions?
You have a question? Oh,
Is
is there any other question before I check if anybody's on? One moment, the microphone is, let me try and get this recorded, you see? We need to hear what you're saying.
Speak a bit loud.
Is there something else in the journal that may extend to the compensation?
Remember, I started the conversation about check your status first, the first thing we do. And again, the Home Office team, engagement team mentioned specifically dates. People from Commonwealth countries and people from the rest of the world. If you're eligible for status,
And you can approve it.
well, you're eligible by dates. That's what it said. Did you arrive, you, your parents or your grandparents, and settle in the UK by the 1st of January 1973? So you could have arrived in 1965 or 71 or 59, doesn't matter. But you were here settled before that date. You're eligible. Yeah, that's status. Whether you've been impacted is a different matter. So the issue is, did you suffer any loss? When you were asked to prove your status, did it have an impact on your life? Did you lose your job because your employer said to you, bring your passport in tomorrow or Monday, but you didn't have a passport, so you couldn't bring anything in, and they dismiss you? You would then lose your job. You've been impacted. You suffer loss because you could not prove your status. There are some people who has rectified their status without a compensation to it attached to it. And there are those who gone through the status, been impacted, and moved to the next one, compensation. So dates are very important. 1st of January 1973, 1st of January 1989. Those are two important dates. And the terminology used keep changing. Okay? Settled in the UK, settled. But in the presentation, it mentioned right of abode. Okay? Can you just explain the difference, please?
So right of abode is something I've got an example, it might be easier to explain. So right of abode would be, for example, mum and dad came to the UK because we were the 1st of January 1973, they were born here. If they returned to your country, so Nigeria, Jamaica, that person who was born in the UK, their mum and dad, have got ILR when they came.
What's ILR? Sorry.
Indefinitely to remain.
Indefinitely remain before the 1st of January 1973. This was enabled by immigration, 1971 Immigration Act, right? So that person who was born in the UK, even though now they've gone over and gone to another country, they have got a right to vote. That is just a small example. Right to vote, there's lots of different things as well, which that's the only one that I can give you an example of at the moment, because it is depending on everybody's individual situation. And that is something that we need to look into more deeply. Because as an example, that is the right of the road.
Does this go back to, for instance, right of a road, and you've been impacted by it from school, since you were in school, i.e. not being allowed to take exams?
So when we talk about the compensation, we talk about being impacted, okay? So the impact cannot be anything to do, it's got to be because of the local status. The issues that you had at school was because of local status, not because of any racial situation or anything like that, or it's got to be only about the local status. So if you're impacted by something because of local status, then that's the impact. However, if it's racially motivated, that you think that's then prejudice or anything like that, then that's not part of the compensation. We know that it happened, and obviously it is a very good thing, and we know that it happened a lot. However, for the compensation, like you said, it has to just be about local status.
And yeah, but it wouldn't be about racism. It would be about taking away your right to do your exam, which everybody's got the right to do their exam in secondary school, right?
That doesn't impact on immigration.
It doesn't.
No.
Okay.
No. So they're different issues, and we try to focus specifically on immigration issues, because that's what Windrush is an immigration issue. There are other issues, racism, other issues, you know, it's not part of Windrush. So when we talk about Windrush, remember the presentation started with the historic context. Yes? So the first generation Windrush arrived in 1948. And subsequent generation been coming all the way through, right? Up to, so the Windrush timeline runs from 1948 to 1989. So if you arrive 91, 92, 93, you're outside Windrush. Okay? So that Windrush timeline from the first generation to 1989. That is the timeline. So anyone been impacted during that timeline? Windrush. And to be eligible, as we said, you have to be settled in the UK by a specific date, either yourself, your parent, or your grandparent. And then whether or not you've been impacted, we won't know that. You'll have to say, I lost my job. I could not go to university. I could not open a bank account. I could not do this. You would have to identify all of those issues that you personally was impacted as a result. We got to hear experience, live experience of somebody who was working for the NHS, and because she did not have the documentation, they dismissed her. She had to go. And many people experience that.
Glenda,
Yes.
so I don't know how she's going to speak.
Yes, she's going to speak now.
Do you want
online
Lee to put it on the screen?
Oh, if you could, yeah,
Yeah.
because you want to address everybody. Her car had a problem this morning, so you couldn't actually come in person. Just going to do it online, but everybody can hear her experience.
Upstairs. Keep track of some. Is there a
We're just going to try and connect you to the main screen, Glenda.
Is there a HDMI slot on here that you can plug into?
It's on the
One like
side.
that. We could extend it. Okay.
Or is that the extension?
Let's see if we can go into.
It's on this side?
Yes, it's if we.
So while we're organizing the monitor,
It's gone off.
just as a way of introduction to our next speaker,
Full screen it.
You can
who is Glenda Caesar from Windrush Live, and she's a campaigner for Windrush. She was one of the
I can't make it bigger. Just the speaker.
Challenge the homeowners and receive compensation. But more importantly, we're going to talk about her own experience, how Windrush has impacted on her life
I'll just
and
put just a
her
speaker.
family, their children.
View. So it's view. Speaker. It's got rolling. All right, so it's got other speakers. That's a Splendor.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that.
But you can't see her right now. I'm trying to, how can you see her only? She's not speaking.
We need to take the sound. Pin her, please, so that we can. Just pin her so that we can get. I switched the volume off.
I did.
Put the volume up.
Speaker, you speak speaker on the view.
It's over there.
Can't hear it.
Yeah.
Ask her to speak.
I know you've got her picture now. But how do you make it bigger? It's your computer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you make this just complete? It's full screen.
Full screen.
If you go to view, then it should.
No.
Or is it more?
I think it's, can we hear it?
Yeah, and then it's
Got speaker.
speaker.
In the, oh, here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't see. Hello. Why is the screen that
Just up
small?
there.
You've lost her, where is she now?
No, she's there's this blue one.
Oh, on the Zoom.
Yeah. That's the feed, live feed.
Okay. Right.
So
So now,
I closed this.
oh, that's what this is. Yeah. Yeah, the chat will.
I can't follow the chat.
So now that should go big.
Yes.
That's the volume, right, Gary? Yeah. I can hear it.
Testing.
Can we hear?
You can hear me, Garrett.
I think it's the volume. Audio, can we hear it?
What is it? F? Oh. That's out of time.
It's out of time, isn't it?
That's the live feed. That's the live feed. That's the live feed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Like it was going through.
Right. So the live feeds.
The technology is the thing.
That one.
Can you hear me okay, Glenda?
That's all we're trying to do here is put the headline news. Or the headline statistics or data. But those
I
sort of
closed the live
questions
feed.
are there.
Silence it.
Well, just how can you do the volume? This is the volume.
I can hear you.
Can I see the live now?
Can you hear me?
What's the IT guy?
Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Garrett? Hi.
Just the volume. Where she here.
Oh, so let's go back to the blue one.
Can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you in Zoom, but not in the room.
Where is that second one? Yeah.
Literally. It's in full volume.
Hello?
Full volume.
100%.
Yeah.
Hi. Can you hear me?
You want to stretch for a second? I was just doing this.
Sorry, someone's going to give us some assistance.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. All right then.
Hi.
Yeah.
Go back to the Zoom meeting, yeah?
Hi.
And then there's a microphone.
My microphone's on. Can you hear me?
Up arrow. Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, hold on. Okay, change it from headphones to speaker. speaker audio.
Hi.
Yeah. And then, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you
She said she can. She can, but we.
If she can hear us, what about when she's speaking? Will the audience be able to hear?
Yeah.
One, two, one, two.
Speaker.
1, 2.
Output. So speaker.
Hi.
Speaker. Select a microphone. Speaker fix audio. Pet speaker. Same as system.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Perfect.
What was that?
Okay. My team member will send you the invoice for this. He laughs.
Now, so we can go
Yeah.
with Glenda to
Alright, thanks for that, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You're loud and clear, so that's good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she can.
Get yourself a drink, please, and let's come back to the session, please. Now that we've got audio, make sure we utilize the audio.
Okay. Can I speak?
Yes, let me introduce Glenda Caesar, who is now on the monitor. So Glenda is director for Windrush Lives. She's also a member of Windrush Justice Clinic, and she's also director for WINO, which is a national organization based in Birmingham. So Glenda is going to give us a lived experience of her own situation, and hopefully that will inspire some of you to understand some of the issues affecting Windrush claimants. Okay, so can I have the attention now, please, and just focus on the monitor? Linda,
Can you stop now,
your
please?
turn.
Sorry, can you all sit down? Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
Hi. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person because I had car problems. But my name's Glenda Caesar. I'm a victim of this whole scandal, a survivor of this scandal, and I also do advocacy and campaign in order for people to get justice. I think my story is widely known already of how I got involved in all of this. Living in this country from birth, worked in 2009. I was terminated from my position, and I was okay. Sorry, can you represent people? Yeah. In 2009, I was terminated from my position, even though I had been in the UK all of my life. I was then told that I couldn't work anymore and I wasn't able to claim benefits. This came as a shock to me because in all the times I was living here, I obviously thought I was British because I came here at the age of 3 months old. Both my parents came over from the beautiful island of Dominica, which was at the time of my birth, when I was born over there, was ruled by the UK. So they came over here as British citizens. It was a bit of a shock after a while. I'd heard all these stories on the television, but I never thought that I was involved in this because I was saying, well, I'm British, this doesn't involve me. But lo and behold, I first realized in 1998 when my mother had passed away in Dominica that I wasn't able to obtain a passport, but I didn't really need anyone because I wasn't going to travel because I was a very young mum bringing up my children. I am a mother of 4, grandmother of 12, and born in this country. But like I said, in 2009, that's when this whole situation started to affect me. And it was quite a shock. I wasn't really bothered about not being able to being terminated from my job because I thought I'd better get another job. But what did shock me was when I went to claim benefits and then they told me you're not entitled to benefits. I was like, well, hold on. I've paid into this system for if a situation like this arises. Why can I not? And then I was told because I didn't have a British passport. My 3 older children had British passports, but my youngest one, who was a different father from my other children, he was also told that he wasn't British. And that's when I realized, oh my God, something is definitely wrong, because I know I'm British and I know my son was born British. So now there is something seriously wrong. It was a struggle to go through all of this, even trying to reach out to get help from there was no organizations, to be honest, who could assist you. You went to the legal people and legal people didn't even understand what was going on. They just had to follow whatever legislation was in place then. It's either you paid money to get naturalized or that was it. You just stayed under the radar because there was nothing else you could do. I couldn't leave the country, obviously, nor could my youngest son. Once it had hit me, I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't work. I've just got to rely on my children and for them to support me. In 2000 and I think it was 17, I think this came to light, and I was approached in 2018 about this whole situation, and it was like a relief to know there's other people out there going through this. And I had tried everything to apply for indefinite leave to remain, right of abode with money that I didn't have, but yet it was still getting rejected because they had no record of my father, who had been in this country, was the first to come to this country, was a homeowner, bought a house and was working, and they had no record of him, even though I had approached the local authorities to try and get information on my father, there was nothing there. Now we're fortunate enough where this is now blown up that they seem to be finding a lot of information where I don't know, systems have got back into place. But once I had come out, and this was in April 2018, within 7 days, I was given my British passport. And the only reason why is because media had followed me to the Home Office for me to get my status regulated. In 2000, I met with the first Home Secretary at the time, I think it was Sajid Javid, when this whole scheme was put into place. I had never had any interest in politics or even the Home Office, but after this happened and the compensation scheme was put together, which I'm going to be very honest, was put together very quickly, but I was fortunate enough to challenge them, where I was made offers in the beginning and I turned down the first 2 offers, and the third offer I took. But it was a challenge and I had to challenge them. And I don't think that there was enough services in place within the scheme to assist people and who had a clear understanding of it. I have to take my hat off to the engagement team, because it's one of the best teams that's come out of this scheme. And the people who are there to assist and are there to draw the attention and explain to you exactly how this whole scheme works. There's still improvements to be made. There's still a lot of improvements to be made, and it's still a slow process. It's something that's got to be improved, and I'm not going to turn around and say that it hasn't, because there's a lot of improvement to do. But what I find that they are doing now, as a team, they're listening to us as people or representative of the people who's been affected. At least they're listening to us and they're trying to make the improvements. Is it going to work straight away? We don't know, but at least something is being done better than when it first started. I did have a question I wanted to ask the representatives, because I saw earlier on they said about you can be eligible, but you can't be entitled. And I think they can answer that question for me afterwards. If you're eligible, who makes that decision? Is it the status scheme or is it the compensation team? That's what I really want to know, because normally what I see when I represent the people that I'm helping, the compensation team says you are eligible, but yet you're not entitled. So there's a bit of a misunderstanding there. If someone could just clarify that for me, but I want everyone to know that this isn't just a straightforward scheme. If you do not understand how to do it, there is now organizations out there who are willing to help you and to take you through it, because it's not that straightforward. It may seem that straightforward, but what we're going to what you're finding now is that we have to fight against a lot of legislation, and it's legislation that people don't understand, because I knew nothing about legislation. I literally had to go and read up on it, but it's not as difficult. It's not as easy as it's portrayed. It is difficult, but the one good thing is that you're able to pick up the phone, call up the compensation team, and there's someone there to explain to you. I also want the people to understand who are vulnerable. I heard Garrett talk about it earlier on, but like people who have difficulties either with mental health or with learning difficulties. The vulnerable persons team are there to assist you. And they do listen. They really do listen, and they try to adjust to do things, because the cohort of people who's been affected are people of a senior age. So they're out there to assist people. But we're here, Garrick, Roland, and other organisations. I represent, I'm a director of the Windrush National Organisation, Windrush Lives, and the Windrush Justice Clinic, and we all try to work together, all of us as a collective, to assist the people who's been affected. So the help is out there, and if you feel you need the help, trust me, if you could just type, if you've got a phone in your hand, Google Windrush, and I'm sure that there'll be somebody there to assist you. That's me. If anybody has any questions, I'm quite happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Glenda, for your presentation. And Glenda mentioned a couple of things there, but I just want to get a response straight away at the point about who made the decision question. Yeah, can we just clarify this straight away for Glenda, please?
It's a personality team that works out of Liverpool that will confer eligibility.
Have you heard that? So it's the nationality team working out of Liverpool that will confirm eligibility.
Sorry, say that again, Garrick. I didn't hear.
It's the nationality team working out of Liverpool that will confirm eligibility. Correct?
Okay. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. We may need to come back to that point at a later conversation, because I think I need to talk with you as well and see how we can actually deal with this. Elizabeth?
We've got a caller from Zoom, Diane Collymore. I don't know if Diane wants to come in.
It's a question directly for Glenda?
It's a very complicated question. Can you see the question in the chat? Is it something that you can answer, or should we ask one of the team?
The complex. Can you help persons living abroad who has trained and worked as NHS nurses in the UK, who came to the UK as British subjects in the 50s and the 60s? I think that the team should be able to help that. I mean, Garrick explained it earlier on. If you were affected and you weren't able to get your status regulated, I think that's the first thing you have to get sorted out, is to ensure that you are a British subject. And if you weren't able for you to get access to the different services, but I don't know how this compensation team works anymore, whether we can just come over and say, well, do I have to get naturalized or before I can regulate my status, or are they working on the 2-year rule where you had to have been out of the country, or did you try to even make any advances to get your status regulated? I think the team should answer that question, because I might be a bit biased.
Do you understand the question? This is somebody outside the UK who previously had worked in the UK, in the NHS. Is it NHS, correct?
Yeah, NHS from the 1950s and 60s.
Would like to know what's the process for their status it may be that a 2-year rule might have impacted on them if they've been away from the UK for a period of time.
Has the person not thought about the online overseas application? Do they wish to return? Do you know?
Right. So we,
Okay, Diane, do you want to put your hand up?
does the person wish to return to the UK, because there's a process to follow?
Where's
And we've
the-
done many talks on this one. How to actually get a returning resident visa to come back to the UK. We've also recorded some video on YouTube session that we've done.
Right, Diane, where's Diane?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. Can you
All
hear?
right, Diana, that's
afternoon.
it, Diana.
We can hear
We
you
can
now.
hear you loud and clear, yeah.
Right. My apologies to everyone. I can't be there. What I wanted to know was really is very complex. There are many, many nurses, people who live here, they still have assets here, get their pensions from the NHS, etc. Children, grandchildren still living here, but when they come to through the customs, they're being told that they can only be here for a certain amount of weeks, and these are British subjects who were born in the 40s and the 50s, and some of them went back home just to look after a sick relative. And, you know, their children have some beautiful jobs over here because they're British born, very professional jobs. Maybe I don't want to use names now because it's confidential. But what I want to know is how can they get their returning visas? Because I know of one in particular. She went to a solicitor and he took £15,000 from her. And up to this day, she hasn't received anything. And he told her, oh, you have to have been born here. And I said, but hold on, she's a British subject. She was born in 1945 or something like that, you know, or 43. And still, this lady is still waiting to see how she can get her indefinite leave come back into her status, because she's not she didn't come here illegally. She was trained here from the age of 18 in a British NHS hospital, and she only went back to the West Indies to look after a sick relative, and then she was told that she needs to register as a British to get, you know, it's a long drawn out history to this.
We can deal with your query. I know exactly what your query is. So we can deal with your query offline through contact. But just for everybody in the room, we've been pushing a campaign for people outside the UK who've been locked out of the UK because of the 2-year rule. And we've been pushing to make sure those people understand how they can re-enter the UK by using the returning resident visa application. We've been pushing that, but still a lot of people don't understand that. And, you know, they still think, oh, we can't come back to the UK. And you mentioned having close family ties. We always stress that. You've got family in the UK, you may have a business in the UK that has family members operating, so you have links in the UK and you're entitled to return to the UK. We can deal with this separately, but it's important for the audience to know if you've got family members outside the UK who previously had lived in the UK, who were settled there and then gone back home for whatever reason. If they wish to return, they can.
That's why I've been.
If they wish to return, they can. Now, there are some people who don't wish to return because they're in senior years now, but they've been impacted, and we've raised this before with the Home Office. They can make an application and they can contact the team. They don't have to return to the UK to make an application. I do put this directly to
You'll spend less time.
but a lot of people don't understand that. And so we're trying to stress that there is still ways that you can return to the UK if you so wish, but you've got family ties in the UK. Roland?
Very much for that. Thank you very much for that. The telephone number that you put up on the slide?
I'm just getting another response to your point.
Will I be able to speak to someone, because I can't hear clearly, it's a bit muffled, the slides that you gave out some telephone numbers because I was on my mobile before and I've now come on my laptop. That's the same number that I can speak to you on to get some more information.
That's the same number, she said. Is that the same number?
I'm sorry, we've got 3 points. Sorry,
What's Diane's question?
Diane
Yes.
wants to know if you can contact somebody at the number. that-
Diane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Email Windrush compensation scheme. Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm here. I can hear you clearly. Well, a bit, you know.
I don't want to take your phone number in front of everyone else.
Okay.
Email Windrush compensation scheme at homeoffice.gov.uk.
Yes.
It will find its way to a team member and ask them to call you back. We will ring you and help you with your query.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
And Ron, can respond, and Ron. I have a question to the team.
Yeah, okay, we'll take all the question and then come back to a question on two. Yeah. Please.
One, for those individuals in the guidance mentioned, those
We can't hear you.
who enter UK reported up to the 18th birthday period of granting came from a conflict branch. What I'm not clear on is if they enter UK after the 1st of January 1989, those individuals are under the age of 80 years are eligible to apply for the scheme. That's another question to follow.
Okay.
I didn't follow the question.
Before you enter UK, before you got the age of 18 years old.
But did they arrive after that final date that Gary has mentioned today?
There was a final date, 1st of January 1989, applied to those who enter UK before they got the age of 18.
I think that has to go to a caseworking, we're not caseworking. I think within those guidance that Gary was talking about, it's a question that needs someone else.
Email directly at our question.
Like you've done before, you've emailed into our team, we can get you an answer.
The next question is for compensation. For those individuals who have been impacted and have been established that they have been impacted and have got no interest in returning to UK and locked out, have been established definitively that they have been impacted and had a right to return to UK. Do they need to return to UK prior to making an application for a compensation?
We have raised this several times. We raised this back in Jamaica for a call, and we've got it. But I have not seen any changes in policy document. Although the Home Office believes that they do not need to return to the UK, they should contact the team and the application will be processed. So the question was voted on. Since that conversation, we've not seen any update or policy change in writing.
My understanding is that we have received compensation from those people who are living overseas, and that we have dealt with them. I didn't think anything was changed around.
Well, here we are. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Now, you've got a question online?
No. Yeah, sorry, this is me. I had to get permission because I might get beaten if I go home and I do this. My mum's at the back there. She's 93 years young, and I wasn't going to say anything, but the lady asked specifically about being in the NHS. I've spent 40 years working in the NHS,
and I've come across, most of the people that work in the NHS, 60% have come from the African Caribbean community. And in different statuses and different positions and different, at different times and all the rest of it. But when we've been in those jobs for years and years and years, like Glenda's just said, and then these things come and hit us, it is a shock, because the NHS, as you all know, needs us, relies on us, and invited us specifically to come and be nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals, care workers, etc. I've got two lovely NHS grandees at the back there. They're young ladies, 93 and other, who came from Barbados, already trained nurses. They came as already trained nurses, and when Mr. Howell and other people in the NHS in the UK said 1948, we've got the wars just finished, we've trying to rebuild the country, healthcare is one of the most important parts, healthcare and housing, transport, etc., all needed to be rebuilt, and they invited the Commonwealth people, Commonwealth meaning they were still under British rule. They invited them to come to Britain. They were British when they were born. There was no Jamaican flag in 1948. There was no place called Nigeria in 1948. All of these places got their own names when they got their independence, Zimbabwe and places like that, got their independence at that particular time. My mum came from Barbados, an already qualified nurse, to come and work in Birmingham. She came and worked in Birmingham. They made her retrain, even though she'd already trained. And bear in mind, people in Barbados, Caribbean, Nigeria, took the same GCSEs as the Queen and Prince Edward and all that lot, okay? They took the same exams, the same GCSEs or GCEs or O-levels or whatever, the same boards, etc. They were trained by English people in Barbados, as you know, and we were trained by English people when we got here. But you can't just sit here and forget your family in Barbados or Jamaica or Nigeria. We're part of what is called the diaspora. You come here and you become part of the diaspora, the African diaspora. And that means that you don't forget your mother. Sometimes you've left your children. Sometimes you've got sisters and brothers in the Caribbean, and your father will may have died, or you might want to visit someone before they pass. And when that happens, we can end up being locked out of the country. That's what it's called, being locked out. When people go abroad, we haven't mentioned this yet. That's why I'm going into the detail of it, because this will touch people here. Some people aren't happy to share their situations. But they're getting knocked out, and then when they try to get back in the country, they're faced with either not being able to get in the country or being created and turned into refugees. Now, when you come back in this country, you live in Wales, London, wherever you live, Birmingham, I'm trained in Birmingham, but I was born in Wales and we were living in Wales. Coming back to Britain, and they question you coming back in, and they even say you're not entitled.
We're going to pick up some of that in the next bit.
Right.
There's some really good points that need to be made.
Nigeria, for example, and you're coming back. Hey, you just popped over to see your grandfather or your father-in-law, and the war breaks out. There's the wars all across Africa, and so you're just coming back as everybody else who's British is getting out. Like in Sudan, the British ran out of the country, but British Sudanese who were working in Britain, who were Sudanese, were also trying to get back in the country. And that's those sorts of routes get closed down to certain people. And when you get questioned and not allowed back in, or not even allowed to bring your own children because they think you're kidnapping children or not allowing, they're thinking you're taking children illegally out of the country, trying to bring children illegally into the country. That impacts everything you do when you get back in the country. being a refugee is not the same as being British. I don't need to explain that to you. It's the same as being British and not being recognised as being British.
Okay.
And Glendale happened.
Let's go on from
yeah,
here.
I'm just giving that story because it's part of our stories. I'm not giving it, personalising it. It's part of our stories, and then it impacts the NHS because then it can't get the creme de la creme that they've managed to train. None of the people who came from the Caribbean were nobodies. We were all the creme de la creme. Your parents and grandparents were the creme de la creme of Barbados and Jamaica and Nigeria, and they were begged to become here. And then to be treated and mistreated. That's why we need to make sure that we support each other going through this process. And I just want to say to Diana and all the other people that Glenda, Roland, and we've got Claudia Jones' organisation here. We're setting up the Amy Garvey advocacy service, Windrush advocacy service from WISE to do specifically what is signpost you in the right directions. The phone, I'm just saying there's a phone number here, there's a website here. Again, I've got all these qualifications, but I can't go on the internet and see all these things because I've got visual impairment. So talking to somebody and picking up a piece of paper, that's sometimes all we need is that help and that one-to-one.
Thank you.
So I'm just
Thank you very much, Mr. We'll come back.
I felt speak to this.
We'll come back. We'll break for coffee refreshment. When we return, we're going to have another conversation. And then we're also going to pick up any question coming out of the conversations that you've heard today.
Somebody answered if that would be eligible for a claim.
What would
The scenario where they were, they had to come back into the country as a refugee.
Well, no.
It's.
No, yeah, I don't think it's coming back as a refugee. If you previously had settled in the UK, you have a right to return to the UK. Yeah, but not everybody would want to return to the UK. Remember, we keep emphasizing this point about dates when you arrive and settle. When you leave, and this is the important point, that the 2 years in the 1971 Immigration Act that was enacted in 1973, you had this 2 years on one day. If you're out of the country for 2 years on one day, your status lapsed. However, for EU students, it was 5 years. Sorry, EU people, it's 5 years. You can be out of the country for 5 years and return without any consequence. I have written to ministers about it. So there's a difference between Commonwealth people and EU people. Why would the 2 years be restricted? What about 5 years? It's a big issue. You can't make that decision. It's not a good decision. But that is a consequence of the 1971 Immigration Act that was enacted in 1973. What we're saying is there are people outside the UK that wish to return to the UK. We can help them to return to the UK. There's a process to follow. So they can return if they so wish. If they so wish. So we're going to break now for a couple of minutes and something, and then you can have a conversation with our team over there on the one-to-one. There's a question we need to raise.
We decided not to do that. This is too public space. We want people to give their numbers to.
That's fine.
To the registration.
Make the contact. I'll explain your information.
Yeah.
So, how long are we breaking for? 15 minutes? Yeah. Yeah, 15 minutes. So we'll have a 15 minutes break. Question then. Have some refreshment. Have a conversation either with myself, with Robin, anyone. Exchange contact with the Home Office to get further information about individual case, your individual circumstance.
So can we say thank you to the people first as well?
And they're still online, so they're still listening. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, so I didn't bring it in. That's why we said not to get them through those ones. So I just tried to respect you. No, it's all right. Make sure that we're all going to get the details. Speaker. Yeah, let me just.
Yes.
All right. Stay in the food, food that's fine. So good. So great. What rice? Rice and potatoes, rice and curry, becoming about the chocolate. Yeah, we've got another one. Are you staying? Oh, you don't stay? So great. I met Carol, eventually, you know, with your sweat, first of August. Yeah. First time. Even though I was not wheelchair. I went all the way to the square, I met Carol. And we've been sisters since then. So we've been going through all these different things. So you get therapists. And she works with Wall Street Jones in Birmingham. So just because I can't remember what. No, I gave them my number. Yeah. This is my first week of public relationship and this is completely come all the way from the family. Yeah, I went all the way to North this week to meet her. I had a lovely time with my husband. And I got I had her grandson. That's when I met you. And we were doing African tournaments. Great time. No, he's not just for them, my maid man. And he couldn't come in the car with us, but he went his own way. He had a taxi ready to go to the store this morning. It's got the grandchildren. Talking about we with black people don't work so you do. The beach was in the 40 years, my sister, my mum. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where you live. I'm so scared.
Okay, can I have your attention, please? So, the next section of our conversation
going to be around close family claim. Close family claim. We're going to have Roland getting on board with. Okay, so let's just commence our next section, part 2. And I just introduce Roland over this from just a number of generations. And the conversation will be close family claim, one of the 3 claims that was outlined by our engagement team. Remember, we said primary claimant 1, close family 2, deceased estate 3. So in order to focus on the close family claim, those people who have been supporting individuals because they were impacted and they could not get a job or they could not find where to live. So they were supported by family and friends.
That noise.
That's the reason that please.
What's this noise?
There's something missing.
Sorry, does anyone know what the noise is?
The
toilets are that way.
Something missing.
Is it tiny? The toilets are that way.
You know what?
No, it's ready. Oh, you went to the toilet as well?
You can't put the monitor.
Get alarms on it. What's it? Oh, there's an alarm in here. Sorry.
Okay, let's start the conversation. Close family claim. Roland will explain who's eligible and listen carefully because there's no fixed number of people that can claim who have supported other family members. Roland?
All right, definitely everyone. Can you hear me okay? I would appreciate it if we can have one conversation, please, because try to avoid distraction.
Excuse me.
Please.
Can we sit down again, please? Sorry, can you sit down again, please? Excuse me, sister. Can you sit down again, please? All right.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending. As Garrett and the team mentioned earlier, there are 3 categories: a primary claim, the deceased estate claim, and the close family member claim. Primary, deceased, close family member. There are absolutely no difference between in terms of eligibility, prerequisites, entitlement, etc. Absolutely no difference between a primary claim and a deceased estate claim. I'll repeat that. No difference between a primary claim and a deceased estate claim, except very important, that individual that would have been eligible and entitled as a primary claimant is now deceased. The primary claimant is now deceased, therefore you have to go through a process in order to pursue that deceased estate claim. The next of kin or the executor of the estate, the deceased individual estate, would not pursue the claim. Anyway, I am speaking about the close family member claim. In order to be eligible to apply as a close family member, you need to be a close family member of a deceased individual whose estate is entitled and you're eligible and entitled. Deceased estate. Or you are a close family member of a primary claimant who is eligible and entitled. So when you say close family member, are we talking about our great-grandma's great-granduncle? No. It's a particular group of people that we're talking about, and sits in that group. So you need to be a close family member in the following: wife or husband of the deceased individual. Parent are this primary claimants. Parent are mother and father of the deceased are the primary claimants. Children are sons and daughters of the deceased are the primary claimants. Siblings, brothers or sisters of brothers and sisters of the primary or the deceased individual. Also, cohabiting, anyone that lived with the primary or the deceased individual for 2 years or more and was present while that individual was going through the struggle. And lastly, stepchildren and step-parent of the primary claimant are the deceased individual. And all those 6, everyone in that group, all 6 in that group would have had to be lawfully in the UK at the time when that individual was going through the struggle. And I did not say, I does not stipulate for a maximum of 10 or 15 close family members, no number was given. So wife or husband of, parent of, children of, siblings of, cohabiting, living with the individual while they were going through the struggle and live with that individual for 2 years or more, also step-children and step-parents. You do not need to have necessarily supported the primary claimant or the deceased. Don't need to have supported them. Close family member claim is to do with you, the close family member, brother, sister, wife, husband, etc. of the deceased individual. It's how you were impacted, specifically to do with you, how you were impacted due to what you observed that primary claimant or deceased individual going through or went through when you were going through the struggles. I'm going to give you another. There's another one I used to do, but let me figure it out. Little child is going on the road, the ice cream, child across the road on her own, or on their own. Family members are at the bus stop. Mother, dear sister, father, etc., is at the bus stop, about to catch the bus. Child across the road going on about their own business. Child ice cream fell on the floor. The child started crying. The child was in the party. All these individuals across the road, these close family members, saw what happened. So each one reacted differently. Come one across the road, etc. They had bought another ice cream. I'll leave that analogy there. Each and every one was impacted differently. Likewise, when these individuals were impacted by the hostile environment, the individuals may have taken that individual in the home, assisted them, watched the clothes, etc. There would have been family members that they themselves were not in a position, whether financially, emotionally, etc., to have supported that individual while they were going through the struggle, but they were still impacted. Everyone reacted differently to trauma. Just like you hear some people say, oh, they were at a funeral and they were not crying. I don't need to cry in front of them. I don't need to cry in front of your family, but I may be crying in my home when I get home. I may not even cry. At that time, I may cry years later. So again, the close family member claim is primarily to do with how you, the close family member, were impacted while I observed, how you observed that individual going through the struggle, and that individual, the primary claimant, or the deceased individual, they have a nervous breakdown, crying because they can't work, etc. You being the brother, sister, wife, or husband, etc., is impacted. In many cases, the assumption is made that the close family member claim is an inferior claim to the primary claim or the deceased estate. That is not necessarily the case. We know of cases, I know cases where the mother was impacted over 3 months period. However, the child of that individual had a nervous breakdown and ended up in a mental institution. Consequently, that close family member would have been more severely impacted than the primary claimant, despite the fact that it was the primary claimant that the situation started from, so to speak. There are 2 categories to the close family member claim in terms of compensation. You've got impact on life. and you've got living expenses. And I'm gonna try to explain the difference between the two. Living expenses is where you, the close family member, supported that primary claim or the deceased individual while struggle. We may have invited them into your home, wash the clothes, give them food, etc., etc. And as a result of that, your bill may have utility bills, etc. You may also give them money. You're stuck outside, you pay them money to them, money from, etc., etc. While you're stuck in Ghana, South Africa, or wherever in the world. You may be in the UK while you're going to the store. You gave them money for them to go into emergency shelter, buy food, phone, parts, etc., etc., while they're going to the store. That's what a financial element. That is the living expense. There's also there's also the impact on life. Impact on life is to do with how you, the close family member, would impact it emotionally, anxiety, stress, etc., etc. You may have been inconvenienced as well, wanted to go on holiday with that particular individual, but you could not go on holiday to go visit them and send them to Nigeria, etc., etc., to go see your great grandma, whatever you've never met. Okay, so you would have been inconvenienced. Anxiety, stress. You may have been stressed to the extent that you go to the doctor and say, "Doc, my brother, my brother or my sister or my husband, etc., is going through this particular issue. Me seeing them that stressed, that inconvenience is impacting me, is triggering, etc." You may have only gone to the doctor, had a word or a discussion, may not necessarily have to be a doctor, it could be a counselor, etc. You may have been impacted to the extent that the doctor had to give you some antidepressants because you're that stressed. The primary claimant or the deceased individual to a certain extent may be better coping with their situation than you observing them for what they're going through. You may have gone to the doctor then when that individual was going through their struggle, had some medication, that is one stage. But you may have gone to the stage that you're going to the doctor then, spoke with the doctor, no medication. You may have gone to the doctor, spoke to the doctor, had medication then, or when you have gone to the doctor, spoke to the doctor, had medication then, and is still on medication now. So they are bigger stages, or you could have been impacted emotionally, anxiety, stress, etc., etc. My approach will be unconventional. But I need to say this. In many families, you will find, and some of you may be able to relate to this. You may find one particular individual that have appointed themselves the family accountant, the family solicitor, the family librarian, etc., etc. And whenever you want to get moms or your brother, death certificate, birth certificate, etc., you've got to go down on the knees and beg them, "Please, can I have mom's death certificate?" In this particular case, that particular librarian and that particular individual that have appointed themselves the gatekeeper, in this case, will not only disadvantage the other family member that would like to claim, they may also disadvantage themselves. In terms of close family member claim, it is very important that the close family members are forthright with each other, be transparent. This is not the time for anyone to be saying, "I don't want to speak with them because I don't like the religion or the hairstyle and the type of music they listen to." I always suggest, at the point you decide you're going to make, put something in close family member claim, our WhatsApp call, you can do. And you have a practical reason for that. That individual may have been locked outside the UK for a number of days, years, or whatever. And that person returned to the UK, you, that individual that is not very because the person is tired of the way they walk and music and listen to, is that one that one pick up mom or dad from the airport. They ran away back from Nigeria, got into London Heathrow, and in the car, they talk about what they experienced while being locked out of the UK, etc., etc., with that particular individual that is not the family spirit. By the time they return to down the motorway, that conversation may have changed to the weather in Nigeria, the beach, the state of the beach in South Africa, Namibia, etc., and the other family members, especially the appointed, that person that appointed themselves the librarian for the family, they have not had that story. And that individual that is not the family's favorite has got the rest of the story. And that is why you've got to be, Tracy has got to be, Jackie has got to be, and everyone comes together and share their story that we can get the whole picture and understand the whole topology of the landscape in terms of how mom or dad was impacted. Also, I think it's prudent to not submit the close family member claim until it has been definitively established that either the deceased estate or the primary claim estate is eligible and they entitled to compensation. Okay, got good reason for that. We've got cases where there are 11, 12, 13 close family member claims in the family, and initially you'll find a lot of the close family members are very reluctant to apply. But once the deceased estate or the primary claim has come through and there's something there, so to speak, you may find one or two close family members that are willing to apply. The others aren't quite convinced of it. You put those two close family members claimed in, and what you may find is a letter coming back, a letter of eligibility coming back and saying, yes, you're eligible to apply to the scheme as a close family member. Then they get to the stage where a preliminary clinic be offered. Then you find the two or three often. And by further down the road, you may have a final decision letter, then the other 2, 4, 5, or 6 may come on board and start applying. Okay? I'm going to leave it there for now. If anyone can elaborate, I know that touched on everything. I'm just to give an indication as to all the close family members they operate. I'll be here with elaboration, clarification, questions, etc. Here. Very important to understand. If you were born in the UK, or if your grandparents came from a Commonwealth country, you should be finding out, especially for the close family members, but this is estate claim and the primary claim as well. You should be taking an interest in the scheme and finding out what is about and if it applies to you. I've come across so many people when I approach them, they say to me, I was born in the UK, therefore it doesn't apply to me. That is totally incorrect. Do not act based on assumption or what you believe. Act based on fact, what you know definitively. Do not take hearsay. Find out, there are guidance out there, you can read yourself and engage, get the information. Another misconception that is out there as well, that is only those who came on the ship or boat, or whatever term one wants to. The mode of transportation is totally irrelevant. When they came on a bicycle walk, my grandfather walked all the way from Jamaica here. He did not come on the ship. He walked here. Not a joke. Right?
Come on, wait.
Yeah, so the mode of transportation is irrelevant. Okay? Find out exactly what the scheme is about, with that nice to, how you entitled to compensation, etc., etc. And in terms of younger people, in terms of numbers, from my personal experience, most of the people that have been impacted in terms of those family member claims are younger people. Under, I said younger, relative, not younger, under 45 years old. It's not necessarily pensioners, etc., etc. That's why when it comes to the children, the siblings, etc., etc., you will find a lot of younger people that have been impacted. I know cases where grandma came from Jamaica, 60, whenever. Grandma was in that definitely for me, no problem. Grandma's daughter in her 40s has got children. Grandma decided to go on, the daughter of grandma in the 40s decided to go on holiday. Her children are in the teens, 18 and 20. When the lady in her 40s, the second generation, went to get her passport with the children, they were told no. Grandma came in the 60s from South Africa, did not sort out her status. Consequently, daughter in her 40 years, in the 40s, cannot get a passport. Likewise, grandchild can't get a passport. So that's 3 generations there that are impacted. And If the granddaughter in her 20s, 80s, and 20s is impacted as a primary claimant, so to speak, it's time to reason that based on what I said to you about close family members earlier on, the great grandchild will be eligible as a close family member as well. So please do not get in the mind that you get that on like the 31 first. Start thinking in color, start thinking about younger people that are impacted and also information. Data, do not have data, assume our ability. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The close family claim is one of the claims that we keep pushing and promoting because we want people to come forward. And we know many people who've been supporting and have been impacted by what's happened to their family have not come forward. Let me just add a couple of additional points to what Roland has said. So, don't be thinking if you make an application as a close family, it's going to have an impact on the primary claimant claim or the CPA. No, right? It will not have an impact. The money that's been allocated to them is a separate fund. So don't be thinking if I make a claim, I'm going to take somebody's money away. No, separate. The next important point to make. There are young people under the age of 18 who are supported and a close family claim. Unfortunately, they cannot submit a claim in their own rights because they're under the age of 18. Somebody has to submit a claim on their behalf. The guardian, peer, etc. Sounds reason. Age. The other important thing about capacity. If individual, this applies to all of the elements of claim. If people have capacity issues, they would need somebody to actually take control of their claim. A good example of that is dementia and Alzheimer's. Before your grandparents or your parents reach to the stage where they can't remember things or even remember who you are, you need to make sure you got their history. You need to make sure that if they're eligible for a claim, you collect information. And if you need to be the person who will look after their financial affairs, then you need to get that in writing. Get in writing. It's important. You cannot actually represent somebody unless you have their consent in writing. And what we always say to people, don't wait too long. Have the conversation early with your family members. There was a point made in the presentation about detention and deportation. And Roland mentioned in his close family of the conversation that might have taken place picking up somebody from the airport and traveling back. But also, let me tell you this, many people experience detention at the airport in excess of 35, 45, 50 minutes by immigration officers, checking their information, taking them into a room, questioning them, etc. And if that is the case, and you've had that 3 or 4 times, and it exceeds 35 minutes, that's detention. So you put that in your claim. A lot of people don't do that. Part of your claim. The other important thing that we should stress about trauma and getting the evidence. You do not need to get a report that has to be paid for £150 from your doctor or your psychiatrist. No. You go to your doctor, you ask for a patient summary, and that will be sufficient, free of charge, no payment. But that will tell us what's wrong with you, what you've been treated for, etc., etc. No cost. Now, it's a lot to remember. But we have information that you can take away and read in your own time from your home office. They've got close family claim, primary claim, deceased estate, they're all here. The hard copy, as well as the online one, the hard copy is here. Take it home, pass it on to friends and family and other members. Have a look at it. And if you need help, then you reach out to either the team or somebody in a position to help you, maybe an advocate or somebody from a different organization that is supporting people. Do not pay anyone. Do not pay. Rectifying your status on the Windrush scheme is free. You do not pay anyone. Don't let people fool you. Oh, this will cost you so much. No, it's a free scheme. Provided you're eligible for the scheme, there is no payment to be made. Now, is there any question from what Roland just mentioned about close family claim? Is there a question that you want to ask, please? One moment, please.
Sorry, we can't hear. Sorry, can everyone be respectful and let the lady speak? You stand up, perhaps.
So I said, if we have family members who are making it unwell and not able to pay for themselves, are we able to pay and they're not?
The person is mentally well, then you can represent that individual or even from for the time required. Larger or return something like fixed and that will take that you are it depends on the level of how much they are impacted, once people they are feet, if they are sounding up of the feet that they are aware, then they should be also aware that you are that you have to represent that control on
So if they are unaware, I mean, they might say, yeah, but not really kind of thing.
I would assume I would talk that with us. Well, the economy, the application, and the bar trying to without following clearly specific.
And this is a good question because the guidance again help us to find out exactly what we need to do. So we don't go out there with capacity. So you know, over there is the guidance and the application form. You can also read it online, the guidance. So there's guidance for each of the claims. Primary claim is about guidance to follow. Close family about guidance to follow. Deceased estate about guidance to follow. And then I mentioned the full guidance that the caseworkers will be using to assess your claim. It's good to know that because everything is mentioned there. So you can look at some findings to be followed. And if you need further help, then that's what the team did before. Do not pay for any, the point I'm trying to make. The Windrush scheme and support is free. You do not have to pay a solicitor for any element of it. Yeah? If you have a query, you know, the office team will help you as well as other organizations who are supporting Windrush claim. There is no payment at all. It's a free scheme, provided you're eligible for the scheme. And being eligible, you must arrive and settle in the UK by a particular date, 1st of January 1989.
Okay, so I've been listening carefully to everything today. And from what I've heard, I've come to the conclusion, whether rightly or wrongly, that please don't follow my friend back to why would you say maybe? I just looked at the criteria and the only thing that you said, the only thing that you said that maybe you think that is you said that if you were born in the UK, so a lot of people concluded that they may not be just because they are born in the UK or parents who came in from Jamaica. So I don't really see, unless I look at the literature and I see something different, I don't really see that.
Let me just pick up the point that I think you're trying to make. There are people in the UK from parents from the rest of the world. I'm just going to say, not just from the rest of the world. So your parent and your grandparents who arrived in the UK, yeah, let's say in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then you're born in the UK. So the scheme, when you check who's eligible on the scheme, it asks very specific questions. It says yourself, your parent, or your grandparents. There's three people here. Yourself, your parent, or your grandparent would need to fit into the eligibility criteria, which is what the note actually said. Okay. And first,
Gary, can I just answer that lady's question where she said about?
Go ahead. What mental capacity issue was it?
She's frozen.
Oh,
no, she's back. She's back. Yes, yes, Glenda. Oh.
Maybe she's not the internet function. She's going to adjust her internet.
Okay. She's coming back now.
Yeah. You're back. The lady with the issue on capacity, was that the question, Glenda?
No, not on mute then. Glenda? It's Glenda.
Well, her audio, I can see the microphone.
Yeah.
It's off, isn't it?
Yeah, but she's not on the list
Yeah, the
now.
microphone thing is off.
How can I unmute them? How can I?
I don't know what's happening, but your audio seems to go on, Glenda.
Right.
So one thing is trying to sort out the audio. So the point is, yourself,
Glenda, go ahead.
parent or your grandparent need to fit into the criteria. Did they or yourself
Go ahead and speak, Glenda.
settle in the UK by a particular date? From Commonwealth country, yes, 1st of January 1973. From the rest of the world, 1st of January 1890. If you say yes to either of those, you're eligible.
She's still coming.
Yes, you're eligible. The next thing is about have you been impacted? That's the next bit. Yeah. What did you suffer? What loss? If you say to me, well, I was working in this place until this day, and then I lost my job because they said so and so and so, then you've been impacted. If you have no impact, there's no compensation to be claimed. That's the difference. But we keep stressing this. Yeah? Impact, suffer loss is about compensation. Status, rectifying your status. You're entitled to your British status. That's the first thing you do. And that makes it completely free. No charge. If you qualify, you get paid.
I can't get access.
In terms of loss.
Yeah, loss is compensation. Oh. So whatever loss, if any, when you make compensation claim.
All right. She's sorry. So she's here.
Okay, Glenda,
Oh,
can we hear you now?
I keep saying unmute all. Oh, there she is.
Glenda, yeah, it's audio. Glenda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you want to pick up lady around capacity issue? Was that the question?
There was, I think I heard a question earlier on about a vulnerable person and if they could act on them. So no, hold on.
All right. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Can you respond?
Yeah, if you have got you if you've got authority and the person can give you authority, then you can take on act on their behalf. If you're a family member, but as long as you've got authority, and the vulnerable persons team are very happy for them to help along with that. I don't think you necessarily need a solicitor if you've been acting for the person anyway in other capacity, but you should be able to assist them, and you can if they're due to make a claim, because I've had a few claimants like that and I've acted on their behalf with their authority, and the team has spoken to them as well just to ensure that you know that they have given the authority. So yeah, you can, especially if someone is vulnerable, but that's what the vulnerable persons team is there for.
Yes. And it's good to mention.
Anyway,
Vulnerable team, but actually, you can speak to them directly on the phone, and they will assist you. It's different, but this one over here, they do something different. But the vulnerable team is all about people with vulnerability.
If they can't give their consent.
Well, I can't exactly. Yeah, because everything, legally, we're going to take over people's financial affairs, we have to authorization. And if they haven't got capacity to give authorization, this is the point that you shouldn't get to the stage where there is no capacity. We should be dealing with this before we get to that stage. Because when you get to that stage, you can't sort of get the person to do anything. When you start seeing signs of dementia coming in, and dementia is like a slow process, then you should be doing something, to make sure you get all the necessary authorization in place.
So can you sign in, please? Sorry. Excuse me, can you sign in, please, first? Thank you. Just for safety. Thank you. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
Thank you. So it's not really, I've got a question and a comment. So the lady who's mentioned capacity, you're looking after a relative who's mentally incapable of applying for themselves. You are impacted by that person unable to apply for themselves. You are a claimant, and part of your claim is the fact that you're looking after somebody who isn't able to. The reason how they got incapable could be because of their legal status. The reason that they're incapable could be because they were not able to get education or healthcare when they needed it. The reason that they're incapable, all of those things are the above. They could have lost their job and got depressed and tried to commit suicide. Oh, sorry, I don't want to trigger anyone, but all of those things are things that are impacting you as a close family member, looking after them. So you don't have to wait for Fred Blogs to say, Auntie, can you sign up this form for me and can you thank for me? You're looking after them. You're making decisions for them. Making decisions for somebody is like carrying them on your back. Yeah? So you're impacted. The fact that you're looking after them is your impact. And the fact that they're incapable and they think they're entitled and what's the other one? Entitled.
Eligibility and entitlement.
Entitled and eligible. Number one, those two things first. But this gentleman at the front, you said you're not sure if it affects you. It's about immigration status. And the immigration status issues goes all the way around everything.
And I talked about refugee status and all that sort of thing, not being able to get benefits when you, if you can't show that you're eligible to be here. Those sorts of things will impact you and make you unable to live a regular life. Your mum and your dad might have come here, gone back to Jamaica, you were born here, or you came with them before you were 18, they've gone back to Jamaica, they're living a good life, or they've passed on, but you're still here, and you haven't got any proof that mum and dad came here during the eligibility period, i.e. before 1989. They've gone back and they're happy and they don't want to come back and they don't want anything, but you go to get a job, you go to get benefits, you go and get housing, okay, you're impacted. You can't prove that you came on mum's passport because mum's in Jamaica, dad's in Nigeria. You haven't got a piece of paper that says. So my question to qualify what I've just said is that these bits of paper that, you know, sometimes we didn't even get passports when we came to from Barbados or Jamaica or Nigeria. They were papers. They were called papers. They weren't just a little book with the Queen on the front. It was a paper that said you've got an indefinitely to remain, you're coming to work on the buses or whatever. But those bits of paper, we're not all hoarders, you know. Some of us keep everything, but some of us throw everything as soon as
can be tracked.
So that's what we're finding, that people are thinking, I haven't got that original piece of paper, but I know that if you didn't pay £10 in income tax, the taxman will find you. You don't have to remember that you didn't pay that £10. The taxman will find you. So if you are not able to find that piece of paper, surely the Home Office can find that piece of paper. Even if it goes back to 1948, am I right in that? Because 1948 is when we start this whole Windrush thing. And one of the reasons that it became a scandal was because people were told, you come here in 1964, you've been living here since 1964, but you can't prove that you've been here since 1964. You haven't got your passport, bit of paper, you came on mum's passport. Those are the people we're talking about eligibility. Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Let me ask Ian, because
it's giving me a funny look.
We're going to explain how you can get information that exists.
Yeah.
So there's information out there in the system that exists. You don't have to worry about finding every piece of information. So the point that Liz was asking, now for many people who didn't have a passport, and then she came here at the age of 3, for many people who didn't require a passport to come here, but later on, having established their family, etc., they want a passport, and they want to make application, but they haven't got no evidence. Now, just explain to people what evidence already exists for documentation. When people cannot find documents, this document already exists in the system.
We reach out to other government departments, and we will find someone's footprint. The person who will earn £10, never pay the tax, will be on one of the records. Inland Revenue. HMRC. I don't think our records, our digital records, certainly don't go back to 1948. But we also work on the thing called balance of probability. Is it more likely to have happened? What that person is saying on the scales, 51-49, is it more likely that that person did arrive? Because you're right, Liz, not everyone kept all their documents. I haven't kept all my documents. But in terms of the status, if you haven't applied for status, the likelihood is you'll live in the community, you may be registered in the same doctor or the same surgery, the doctors may have changed. But in terms of status, someone asked me, what document do I need to send in? I haven't got any papers. Well, how long have you been registered with the local doctor? I've been with them for 45 years. Will you get a letter to confirm that you're registered with that doctor's surgery and you've been there since 1983? Yeah, I can do that. Send a copy of it into us.
School records?
School records. I've spoken to a great many people. So the school I went to,
Burnt down.
well, that's been demolished, not burnt down.
No, it's been burnt down. One of
But
them's
I
been
went
burnt down.
to Street Junior School. I was there and I went to secondary school. The secondary school is still there. He said, might you go up and have a chat with the school secretary? Can they track your records? And could you drop me a note to say, yes, Ian Harris was at this school, whatever years, such a long time ago since I went to school. So those are simple things, but we do reach out to other government departments to try and help understand or establish your footprint, as we call it, here in the UK.
And in fact, the guidance actually said that, it says, you know, we will communicate with other departments, so you don't have to worry too much about, you know, all finding all this information. The fact is, you live and work here, so there's no.
Okay, I just want to get back to, point that you made about loss and what constitutes a loss. Yeah, there's strict criteria of.
Well, okay, so the presentation had a list of all the categories of law. So we had things like bank, driving license, housing, health, a whole list of it. Also on the guidance. So, but it's not an exhaustive list. It's not every situation, but it gives an example of losses. So we know what we're talking about, you know, if you suffer a lot.
So when you say it's not only like some.
Well, yeah, I can't put everything down on the table. Yeah.
But there is that magic final box called discretion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that isn't in one of those other boxes. They apply.
Yeah. Okay. And so what we're saying to people, please don't be put off by not applying. If you're eligible, and first of all, you need to check that. Then we need to check your eligibility, and from that, that will determine which way to go. Any compensation down the road, well, impact suffer loss. Now, I noticed on this words are changing. Now, I pay particular attention to this. It says, the winner compensation scheme was launched in April 29 for any nationality who arrived in the UK before 89 or as lawfully settled there. For further information, speak to the team or you can visit Windrush following it up.uk. Then at the bottom it says, any information provided in relation to an application or query on the Windrush scheme will be kept confidential. I want to read what's there. The point I'm trying to make is this. There's lots of false information, people saying all sorts of things about the word out there. A lot of it is not correct. So what we have is a scheme with guidance. And I keep telling people, you have to read the guidance. If you don't read the guidance, you don't know the scheme that people do. So it's important for you to read the guidance. But if you're not able to read the guidance, then somebody will help you. And there is no shame if you're not able to read the guidance for whatever reason. Okay? Just seek some help. And I know a lot of people say that I'm too proud to, you know, this and so, yeah. So what do? You don't bother to fill in the application because you're too proud. And you put out 50,000-60,000, whatever it may be. I don't know. That's because you're too proud. If you're eligible for the scheme, apply. That is the purpose of today's session. Who's eligible should apply. As a primary claimant, or a close family claim, or a deceased estate, we want you to apply. And before you leave today, please take information, hard copy, along with you, so you can read at your own convenience about each of the claims and what you need to do. Yeah. If you can't mind the online stuff, we got hard copy. Okay. Now, just before I conclude, it's now 5 o'clock. Is there any further question about what's being discussed today? We've had a presentation from the engagement team. We've focused on individual elements of the claim. And we talk about some of the barriers and issues that people might experience. And it doesn't matter whether you have capacity, you can still get help. No more questions. I'm just going to bring it to a conclusion with a couple of remarks.
Sorry, I think they're muted. Excuse me, sorry. Before people start wandering off, can I just say, oh, you're just warming up? Okay. Oh, okay. Carol and I would like to thank all of the people. Sorry, I mute everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, so person that's very important for this event today. One of them is Ian. Ian, would you like to come up, please? Ian?
Yes.
I know you don't drink before 12 o'clock, but it's 5 o'clock now. So we'd like to thank you for coming all the way from Sheffield. And we'd also like to thank you for spending your last presentation with us here in Brent. And because most of us are from the islands, thought you might appreciate a little tipple from one of the beautiful islands, i.e. Barbados. Not the regular one.
Won't get.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I can't accept
Right.
presents.
It's not a prize. It's not a prize.
It's not.
No, I can give it to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it back on the table. I'm not allowed to accept. I'm afraid none of us is allowed to accept.
What about flowers?
Flowers may be different. Why
Now,
don't you
just before you give the flowers, please. First of all, can I just give some time to you? I'm just going to sort of summarize in a couple of minutes this session. And before I finish, I want you to note a Jamaican number that the Home Office is now fully active, where people in Jamaica can use this number to contact the Home Office. Previously, we had a problem with the number not working. We now confirm it's working. So we now have the number. It's also out in the public domain. And if you want it, come and see me, everybody here, it's down. The other thing to mention is what next. So, Justice for Windrush Generation, we continue to campaign. We continue to get message out to people about this scheme. We also operate twice a month on a Zoom platform, Windrush Compensation Scheme Sunday Chats. You can find this on Eventbrite. It starts at 2 p.m. GMT till 4 p.m. the second and last Sunday of each month. That is where people come in line and they talk to us and we answer their question and help them. Yeah? So if you feel you would need more information, please, Windrush compensation scheme Sunday chats. Second and last Sunday of each month, 2 till 4. It's also on our website, which is justforwindrushgeneration.co.uk. It's there.
Ben, sorry, Ben.
So, having brought this to conclusion, we have to thank the organisers and those who attended today. The camera crew that streamed the session for us.
I found this photographer, and we've got Dash. Don't go anywhere, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Dash, she's also been helping. That Dash is related to my family.
Yes.
And Ben,
First one is Carol and Lee.
Samantha. Ben and Samantha. West Indian self-effort is called WISE. West Indian self-effort. It's because we're all very wise, obviously, but it's that's the name of this organisation, and it's been here since 1983. And my mum and Jocelyn, who are the lovely, beautiful ladies at the back there, were at the inception of it, because our Caribbean children were called Latchkey children, and education is abnormal, and we had to have Saturday schools to make sure that we looked after our own family, our own village. But I'd like to get Ben to come up before I say anything more.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Our Ben is coming up.
Yeah.
Can we give a big hand to our.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, okay,
and they're allowing us to use this space as a Windrush advocacy support. So I want to also additionally give a big thanks to Roland and Harry. That said, yes, we want this specifically, want to make sure people know how to do it and work with us so that we can make sure that we give you the support that you're needed. So that's needed. So Ben and Samantha has actually said that they will support us to open the Saturday school as well. And we've got some drummers, lady drummers, which are there. Stand up, please, lady drummers. Who they also some drumming today. And they're also teachers, and they are going to support us to educate the children when we develop our Saturday school. So thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
Yorkshire.
Yes, Tina and Ray.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And Tom, I'm sorry, Tom, but you'll have to share a rose. Come on up,
The network out.
Hello. Hello. No.
Oh, thank
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Joe, I'm just wondering.
Yes. Hello, Joe. Is
Here? Hi, Joe.
Yes. Yes. I can hear you. But my question to you is, why aren't you holding up and not paying us what we had to get?
I can't hear anything. I'm going to send a message directly to her.
To Joe, eh? You can't hear anything. He said, try this.
If you close off yours.
Can you hear me at all? Sorry. The mic is open, so just let me know if you can hear me.
Joe? Joe,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, this is for my.
Joe, can you hear me?
Hang on.
Joe?
Can you see me? I don't know if you can see me.
Joe, what was it? Are you trying to ask a question?
Yes, it's my dad actually. He's actually wanting to know what is the hold up? Why is this process taking so long? And actually compensation hasn't been forwarded.
If I can get it from here.
He's been trying to sort his case out for the best part of 4 or 5 years, if not more.
Hello, I was trying to, couldn't hear you. Just repeat what you just said, please.
Right, it's from my father. It's his case, and he wanted to know what is the holdup. Why is it taking such a long time, and the bureaucracy that's taking place within that.
Have you made an application?
Yeah, you know, his case is quite unique. What's taken place with him, and
when did the application went in?
Well, basically, he will explain a little bit more to you because it's his case. He was already. Let me just pass you on to you. I'm just gonna...
The drummers are just starting out, so it's very, very noisy in the main hall. So I'm just outside in between there. I'm just wondering whether I can give you my telephone number and email address, because that's probably the best way to get your story.
Okay, all right, do that.
Yeah. So make a note of this telephone number. I'm going to give it to you. You can write it down.
Sorry, you're back with me. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. So my number is 078.
All right. I'll make a note of your number. Pop it into my notes. Are you the director of this organization at the moment? Are you taking care of things?
Yeah. So myself and Roland, we're the co-founder. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your name, sir? What is your name?
Yeah. So it's Garrick, G-A-R-R-I-C-K, Garrick.
G-A-R-R-I-C-K, yeah.
Yeah. And the telephone
Your
number
contact details?
07.
Yeah.
8.
0707, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
58.
Yes.
0787 58.
Yes.
I can't remember. 07078 915864. 915864.
5864. I'll repeat that. Miss Glarick is 0707.
Yeah.
858.
8, no. 078
Ah, 078.
078, so it's like 078 twice, yeah?
Right.
Then 915864.
Okay. I'm going to write it down as you speak. 07, yeah.
078
78,
91
yeah. 91, yeah.
58
Yeah.
64.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We've got that. Are you on WhatsApp?
Yeah, you'll find me on
You
WhatsApp.
are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'd be
so
better to
Garrick,
do
and
that.
the surname is Prayoggg. GARRICK PRAYOGG.
PRA.
P for Peter, RAYOGG. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Prayog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
that's
you.
it. So we'll talk, because that way I can hear exactly what what the situation is. They've
Okay.
just started drumming now, so then it's going to be too noisy here. We're gonna sort of come off Zoom now, while we have some
Yes.
refreshment and some drumming.
Okay, that's fine. All right,
All right.
Gloric, thanks for your time. We will
No problem.
we'll just
Okay.
stay in contact with
Okay.
you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
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 You can put your phone in. I got his number, so that's
Okay. What was that?